Good evening, everyone. This is Julie Noble, and this is the January 12th, 2021 meeting of the Kingston Conservation Advisory Council. And I'd like to call the meeting to order. It is 6:02. With us tonight, we have council members Lorraine Farina, Emily Hauser, Kevin McAvoy, and myself. And we have two guests, Lindsay Drew and Marco Spodek. Welcome to everyone. Lindsay or Marco, do you have any public comment you would like to make?
Not at this time, thanks.
Yep, same here.
Okay, so I would like to see if there are any modifications to the agenda.
I might want to briefly add the Esopus Creek environmental review. We don't have to have a discussion at this meeting. If you want to table that till next meeting or continue it until next meeting, that's okay too.
Is there something timely that you want to?
Public comment period ends in March, and Mary McNamara had sent me a communication. So, but I haven't reviewed it in depth. I've downloaded it, and that's all I've done.
Okay, so there's a motion, I guess, to add Esopus Creek environmental review to new business.
Yeah, and I have one too, sorry.
All right, we can vote on them both together. What's yours, Emily?
I just wanted to acknowledge that the anchorage, the action on the anchorages, and ask that we adjourn the meeting in memory of John Wackman.
Okay, anchorages would be on old business as we've discussed it in the past. Esopus Creek would be on new business, and the adjournment would be at the end. Any other modifications? So we'll do those as a joint motion to modify the agenda. Can I get a motion stating that?
Motion.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
Lorraine, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Okay, so council appointments. Ooh, there's an echo. Okay, so in review of the council member terms, I sent out a note last month or so, letting folks know that really besides Lorraine, everyone else's terms were up. I have received an application for, well, the city has received applications for reappointment from Emily and Kevin and myself. And so those are pending appointment. Lorraine, you are already good until next year, and I haven't received anything from Sebastian or Betty yet. So we continue to be appointed until we are removed. So that being said, everyone on this call is good. You're just waiting until you get an official announcement from the mayor, in which case I don't see that there would be any issue with reappointments, and then you would have to go sign your oath. So I was really waiting for everyone to get them all in together so I could send them all in at the same time. So, but in offline discussions, it doesn't seem like there's going to be any issues with reappointment. So we should all be good. That being said, we need to have our annual elections today. So we need to elect a chair, vice chair, and a secretary. Are there any nominations for chair of the Conservation Advisory Council for 2021?
I would nominate you.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Yeah.
Okay, are there any other nominations for chair? Is there any discussion on the nomination? Okay, I would like to abstain, but all in favor of voting Julie Noble as chair for 2021, please say aye.
Aye.
And I will abstain. Thank you. we need to vote for vice chair. Is there a nomination for vice chair?
I'll nominate Emily.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, are there any other nominations for vice chair? Okay, all in favor of voting Emily Hauser for vice chair of the Conservation Advisory Council for 2021, please say aye.
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 Aye. Emily, are you abstaining? You're voting aye?
Yeah, I,
Okay. Voting for secretary. Is there a nomination for secretary for 2021?
I nominate Kevin.
And I second it. Are there any other nominations for secretary?
No.
Okay, hearing no other nominations, so I'll call for the vote. All in favor of voting Kevin McAvoy as secretary of the Conservation Advisory Council for 2021. Emily, we're voting for Kevin McAvoy for secretary of the CAC for 2021. All in favor?
I,
Anyone opposed?
I guess I can vote, right? I'm accepting
I
it.
just voted.
Yeah, okay,
Right.
okay.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you for the work that you've done thus far, and thank you for continuing in those roles. All right, determination of committee liaisons. So in the past, what we've had, and if this is going to be this way, we can keep it or we can modify. Lorraine would be complete streets, Kevin is planning board, Michelle Hirsch is public safety liaison, Kevin is for the zoning committee, Betta for climate smart liaison, Emily for Ulster County EMC, and myself for the tree commission. Is there any? I guess we should vote on that. I don't know if we actually need to vote on it. I don't know if we voted on it in the past. Anyone remember?
I have to go back to last year and look that one up.
Yeah.
Well, does anyone have any issues with that, with those liaisons? Does anyone want to change, or
No,
No.
that sounds
everyone's
right.
good in those positions?
Yep.
Okay, so then we will consider that unanimous acclamation.
Okay.
All right, so review and approval of the December 2020 monthly meeting minutes. Emily, thank you for, or Kevin, thank you for circulating the minutes. Emily, thank you for submitting your comments. Are there any other, well, first of all, Emily, there were a couple questions that you had in your
Yeah,
notes.
and I think I have the answers.
Okay, so besides the editorial red lines, there was a question about Kevin discussed scheduling. Kevin, do you want to speak to that? This is under number 1, under
Oh,
Woodson.
yeah, I think that we're discussing secret deadlines at the planning board. And we also mentioned the Heritage Area Commission and how that played into it, but I think we'll just leave it as, I was going to add of secret deadlines, the scheduling of secret deadlines,
Okay,
since the
Okay.
planning board has not posted, et cetera, and so forth.
good.
And you had one more somewhere
The
further.
other was under reports and updates under number 2. And
Yeah,
the question was, who is considering the council or the planning board? Considering temporary
I'm
use
going
of
to say the council, but that has, I believe that has come up at the planning board, and it came up at the HLPC, the Landmarks Commission. It came up at a number of boards, but the Common Council would have to had legislation that they were considering.
Yeah, I think that the main thing is this is this is actually a pretty big thing, and it's just kind of stuck in there in one little tiny sentence. So could you say something about, like, Kevin discussed the ongoing concerns about temporary use variances, and because isn't this about trying to get the zoning done so that we don't pass temporary use, so they don't have to give out temporary use variances?
No, this was a COVID thing, specific to COVID.
Oh, okay, never mind.
There were a couple of different property owners, and for the life of us, we couldn't figure out why they actually wanted to spend all this money, but they wanted to convert certain spaces from commercial to residential temporarily and then convert them back at a later date. Sounds like a lot of bathroom kitchens, doesn't it?
Oh, I see. Okay, well, whatever you think it makes it clear.
All right, okay, I'll play with that a little bit then. My only question was, I think Michelle's email was attached in sort of in its entirety. Do we want to actually do that as an appendix?
Oh, yeah, I don't know whether or not I mean, if we don't need to, we don't have to.
I'd rather not. I tend to not want to go that route unless the person, I don't know, is Michelle even here? I don't know.
No.
To tell us, yes, go ahead, because that was sort of addressed to us. It wasn't addressed to the general public. It was addressed to the council.
Okay,
And if she I mean, it's on her official email, but I think if we wanted to do that, we probably should ask her.
Mhm.
No.
okay, I'm okay with taking it off.
Okay, because I think a lot of the substance of it was thrown in elsewhere, sort of piecemeal.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay. Then I
Just
think we're
take
good.
at the very top, it says that they're attached.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
should
yeah.
take that
I
off.
caught that. Yeah, I'll conform it all and get that up and running. Okay. So I think we're good with all the changes then.
Okay, I do have one change
Okay.
for, and this is just a technicality, is that under council members for Bet Abroad, she was
Oh.
considered not present, not excused.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. I'm more lenient than you, I think.
Okay, are there any other changes or concerns with the minutes? If not, we need a motion to approve the December 8th, 2020 minutes as amended.
Motion to approve?
Lorraine, can we have a second?
I second.
Emily, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kevin, for putting that together and for everyone for your consideration. Okay, moving on to old business, Wood Smoke Air Quality Subcommittee. Lorraine?
Okay, so a few things. Oh, wait a minute, let's see.
I
Can you
just,
hear me?
point of order, do you want to recognize our next guest? Our new guest?
Sure. Do you have another guest? Tanya Garment, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Tanya.
I'm sorry, who's the
Hi,
guest?
sorry, so much noise here. Have it on mute.
Hi,
Thank
John. Hi.
Go ahead, Lorraine.
Hi, okay, so first thing is there was a recent Guardian article citing studies that show that indoor air quality is affected PM 2.5 levels, even in the latest versions of certified wood stoves. They're tripled, the amounts of PM 2.5 are tripled inside homes that use wood stoves. That's a new article, new study. Also wanted to say that there was an EPA report showing that it's called Strategies for Reducing Residential Wood Smoke. And it makes the point that fireplaces contribute significantly to air quality problems, especially in high density urban settings. And they can represent as much as 75% of the pollution on bad air quality days. And I wanted to talk about the fact that there was another family that has reached out to Julie, to the CAC through Julie, regarding wood burning affecting their health. I responded to them today and invited them to come this evening, and I'm gathering they are not here, but they wrote me back that they would like me to phone them just before the meeting. I haven't phoned them yet, but they also asked in this last email just before the meeting whether BARD could place a monitor in their neighbor's yard. Apparently the neighbor approved the idea. So the neighbor, she explained, has replaced all her windows and is still experiencing wood smoke pollution problems. So KAKI, Kingston Air Quality Initiative, which is the collaboration with BARD, has been developing protocols for responding to people who express air quality concerns to the city. I believe that I did refer them as well to the website, the city's air quality website. The air quality subcommittee is recommending that the CAC keep a list of those contacting the city with air quality or wood burning complaints. And I could volunteer to keep that list if people agree to that. They also recommended that the city survey residents as to whether or not they have air quality concerns. So that's something I wanted to raise to you all. And see if we have comments about that as a CIC. Anybody?
Was that a discussion that we had at our last meeting?
No, it's just something that the air quality subcommittee raised recently that
Okay.
it would, yeah, so I just wanted to put that out there. I'm trying to work my computer here, which I'm really not good at, but I'm trying to get to where you all are while reading this report. I'm not having any luck. Here we go. Yeah, just the idea of keeping a list, first of all, of people who have contacted the city about wood burning or air quality issues. So I don't know if this is something we need to vote on. I'll go with whatever you all say.
No, I mean, that would be an action of the subcommittee.
Yeah,
Okay. And also their recommendation that the city somehow survey residents as to whether they have air quality concerns or not.
my opinion of that is that that's part of, a general communication plan on this. And, it's one way to find out, but it shouldn't be done piecemeal. So if you have a communication strategy that includes that, then we could, the committee can bring the whole communication strategy to us.
Okay, do you have some ideas on elaborating on that, Emily, that I could bring to them?
Yeah, I mean, part of a communication strategy is to understand there's an issue, who is the issue, and how they want to be reached. And, you can go back to, Water Words at Work, for instance, which is, basically communication strategy. And, I think, so the fact that you're getting some more complaints is good. It's showing that people do have an issue. But, it's, you just don't, what are you going to do with it? What if you do interview people, if you do survey people, how are you going to use that information? What are you looking for? What kind of questions are you going to ask? That kind of thing.
Yeah, and I will say that this latest communication came through in the context of the climate action plan update. And so there was a reference to that. And so I wouldn't be surprised if the dialogue ramps up in light of the climate action plan update happening, particularly if air quality becomes part of that part of one of the priorities. So I think that's a good idea to have a communication plan. So I agree with Emily.
Okay, so that's something that the subcommittee would come up with, some kind of communication plan.
Yes.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. I was on the Grow Well meeting yesterday, and they're considering a survey in connection with their group, and they didn't have a communication plan, and we spent, I don't know how much time trying to sort this out at the meeting. So having that in place really would help.
Okay, if anybody has any prototypes for such a thing that's been done in the city before, I'd appreciate your forwarding that.
I'll have the one from Growwell shortly,
Okay, great.
but I think there are others. I
Mhm.
think that, I think some of the stuff in Rondout, maybe from Weaving the Waterfront, we had surveys there. We have something right now with the CAP 2.0.
Are you looking for
Yeah, but
survey
that's-
templates or?
Looking
A
for-
survey is different than a communication plan.
Right,
So,
but you could
yeah.
derive, you could derive where you're going from it, though. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
I mean,
That's-
we do have a communication officer for the city of Kingston too,
Right.
so.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you. So another piece of this is actually referring, as you say, Julie, that letter did refer to the climate action plan. But I wanted to say that it is certainly a great milestone to be congratulated. In reading the goals, I see there's their goals are for a cleaner, healthier Kingston, and the citizens for local power was quoted in there as including people, the fact that people's homes would be healthier as a result if this transition is conducted well. And this is certainly in sync with the Air Quality Subcommittee mission statement. I wanted to just remind people that as per the CLCPA, the Climate Leadership Community Protection Act, greenhouse gases are defined as carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, hydrofluorocarbons, perfluorocarbons, sulfur, hexafluoride, and any other substance emitted into the air that may be reasonably anticipated to cause or contribute to anthropogenic climate change. And that includes black carbon. So it certainly is in sync with what we're working toward. The last thing I will say, and then I'll maybe ask Marco and Lindsay if they had comments, but I wanted to just say that there's more information coming out indicating that the health of pets is adversely affected by exposure to PM 2.5, which shouldn't, I guess, be surprising. And that there are studies showing that the effects are more pronounced than in humans. So I'll send that along.
Did you say,
Marco and
Fran, did you say pests or pets?
no pets,
Like your cat and dog?
furry creatures. And Marco and Lindsay, I know that you had been working on a protocol through the collaboration through CACI for responding to people who might express air quality concerns to the city. I don't know if that's something you want to report on tonight or wait on that, or it's up to
Yeah,
you.
it's something that we were going to bring to the CACI meeting tomorrow that you and Julie are both on, but we have a sort of preliminary response drafted right now with kind of a letter that's a stock letter that we can respond to folks who get in touch with us with a basic set of instructions, as well as sort of the outlining what we as an entity do / are capable of. And then we being the community science lab at Bard. And then that letter would direct them to a Google form where they would outline their issue, which includes questions about obviously what they're experiencing, how long, whether it's an issue with a neighbor, whether it's an issue with business, something like that. Just kind of giving us the details, as well as giving us right now the time is a 2-week response time to sort of gather the information we have and determine what the next best course of action is. But the goal essentially given that we have the resources, is to leave that person with some piece of equipment that will help them to measure air quality in their home, to provide data that will help us answer some of these questions around residential air quality, as well as provide that person with sort of an ear and someone who's saying that we're listening, as well as and in the long term, it's to sort of it's to also sort of benefit this sort of like long-term monitoring that we started doing on the Murphy Center, but are hoping to expand over time.
Mhm.
But you'll hear more about the details of that at the CACI meeting tomorrow.
Okay, and then I can report on that next month. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Lorraine and Marco. Anything else on air quality subcommittee?
No, thank you.
NRI Open Space Project and Conservation Board. I know that we had walked away the last meeting with a couple different tasks we were going to look into. I know, I think Kevin, you had said maybe you would look into some other communities.
I started doing that, but I haven't, was running into some issues. I have to go to each community to try to, some of them call themselves boards when they're really a commission.
Yep.
Yeah, that presented, right off the bat, that presented a problem. So I'm on the case. I have the list and I'm going through it.
Okay, excellent. That's great. And we also talked about the community preservation plan. I don't think that there's been any kind of progress.
Yeah, I brought this up at the, EMC meeting, and I was actually really surprised that how little people understood this, and that I was mistaken about ESOPUS, that ESOPUS is not a board, although they call themselves a board, and
Exactly.
that in fact, the town of Esopus is not really interested in them becoming a board.
Do
So
they
I
have an
think,
NRI?
yeah, they've been working on, I don't want to say, I'm not going to say which they've worked on, but
Mhm.
they've been doing a lot of work, and so I think the only one that for sure is a board is New Paltz. The town of New Paltz. I don't even know if Rosendale, but anyway, it's really difficult. And the people that were at the AMC meeting, they didn't really seem to understand how this works, and even how their own organization was set up.
Yeah,
So we still need some education on that. And I was hoping maybe that the EMC could do some of that education for everyone.
yeah, I mean, that's not a bad idea. I will say, being involved in the New York State Association of Conservation Commissions for so long, it's not common that conservation commissions go from
Right.
commissions to boards. It's sort of like, if you're a board, you've been a board for 100 years, and if you're a commission, you've been a commission for 100 years, and there's not a lot of that transition from one to the next. Although
Yeah.
it does seem like the logical and goal succession, it actually is not common. I think it's going to be hard for us to find one that has done it recently, and or someone, if Kevin does find a board, or looked into the boards that are really close to here, finding one that has somebody on them that went through the process might be challenging as well, but I think it's still worth looking into that.
I was looking at Westchester County, like Hastings and Dobbs Ferry. But we might have the same issue there. I have to go back and check it out again.
Yeah, and I think Bedford is a board as well.
Bedford is a board?
Yeah,
Okay, well, that's good. That's
Yeah.
good to know. Yeah.
and they have been for a long time. And what's also interesting is that there isn't uniformity with the terminology that's used for the naming of conservation commissions, but also there's not any really standardization of the actions, as we all know, all across the state.
Right.
Hundreds of CACs, we all have very different roles, including the fact that many CACs do environmental reviews, including ours, without having to be, without physically being.
Right.
But there's obviously stipulations that are different. So,
It'd be interesting to even know, this would be an EMC thing, but whether or not how many of our boards are actually set up, or our conservation advisory commissions are set up with 239X, or if they were set up some other way.
Hmm,
Because I don't know if it's harder to disband them or anything if they are. So,
yeah, and I will say this is timely because I'm actually just in the last week been in a lot of conversations with Gardner, which call themselves an ECC, Environmental Conservation Commission. And they've reached out to the New York State Association of Conservation Commissions because their planning board is looking to disband their ECC. And
Right.
hmm.
and it's not their planning board. I think it's the
town,
council.
town,
Yeah,
board.
the town,
right, town board.
town board. Right. And that's just like a big slap in the face to John Sansalone's memory, for one thing. And yeah, and I've just been watching it through the newspaper.
Yeah. Okay, so at this point, I think we should just keep trudging through. Emily, do you want to bring forwards at the EMC a discussion about it more formally, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of ways I could do it. The easiest way is to just ask someone to come talk to us about it. But I would need to know who that would be. Like, is it through the state organization, or someone at, because I've heard Laura Heady talk about it years ago, right? So I don't know who that would be, but I could use some suggestions.
Yeah, I mean, Simon Skolnick, who is the president of the New York State Association of Conservation Commissions, he could speak. He's probably going to direct. I'm the vice president, so he would probably say that I should speak. Laura could speak. It could be a panel about it, and certainly it would be helpful to have another or any board that's already within the county, if there is one, which you're saying there is in New Paltz, to have a representative from that board who's gone through the process to talk about it. I think one of the things that I frankly see lacking in the EMC is just talking about actual functionality of CACs. I mean, everyone talks about what they do, but how about just like, this is the powers that you have, these are the powers that you don't have, this is power that you could have, this is, capabilities that you could have, just simple discussion about, how many members do you have? Are you established by local law or resolution? Are you just to understand the mechanics of conservation advisory councils, because it could be at any point that the same thing that's happening to Gardner could happen in any of our communities as well. And, I see that as a role of the EC to really play that role, besides all the things that they do, just coming together to say, these are the functionalities of conservation advisory councils, and this is how everyone should, A, know how yours functions, and B, know how it could function if you're doing, compared to others. So, and that's something that would be most valuable on a county level. So
Okay,
if you do talk to, is it Dave that's the chair?
yeah,
I mean, if, I'm happy to sit on a panel, I'm happy to connect you with Simon or whatever, you know.
okay.
So if you want to move forward with that,
Okay.
great. Okay, anything else on that topic? If not, moving on to the new addition to the modification that we voted on under old business, which was Hudson River anchorages. Emily?
Yeah, I just want to acknowledge that, I guess on January 1st, the John Patrick Maloney, he put there was a part of the, I'm going to get this all wrong. There was a part of the Defense Act, and it was another, anyway, when you read the anchorages, there's it was passed in the Senate and in the House, and President Trump's veto was overwritten for the Defense Authorization Act, and somewhere in there was a part that discussed the anchorages, and this has been going on for over 4 years, I believe. And basically they've, by passing this, they've protected, so there won't be any anchorages forever. So most of the coverage is about, all the nonprofits being quoted and all the towns being quoted that they think that it's great that this didn't happen. I didn't really see the actual wording, but I just wanted to note that that has happened, and that one of the reasons I'm bringing it up is because we wrote a letter in opposition to the anchorages.
So I had a question, in particular in the article that you circulated. It mentions multiple times the Lower Hudson and then Westchester, Dutchess, and Orange, but it also says Kingston in it. And so it does apply to the entire process, right? The entire project, not just a portion.
Well, people refer to the Lower Hudson as the estuary versus
Okay.
the Upper Hudson north of the dams. So
Okay.
yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So it is applying to, this is the entire, there will not be anchorages along the whole stretch that was proposed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Success.
Yep. Good.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Any discussion on that? Thanks for bringing it forward to us. That gives us some closure on an action that we took for many, many months,
Yeah.
a couple of years ago. So great. Okay, moving on to new business, Hutton Brickyard Development Review. So you may have all, this was on, we had brought it up, or Kevin had brought it up last month under planning board, and I had put it on the agenda for us to discuss today. And then actually at the same, after it was on the agenda, we got a communication from the planning department yesterday to myself as the chair of the Conservation Advisory Council that the planning board has determined that we are an interested agency, as is the Climate Smart Kingston Commission. And as an interested agency in the seeker process, the planning board has designated themselves as lead agency, assuming that the involved and interested agencies all agree. And so we have 1 month, 30 days from yesterday to respond via formal response to the request for determination of lead agency. And we either need to consent that the Kingston Planning Board be declared lead agency for the purpose of the environmental review of this project, or that we do not consent to the City of Kingston Planning Board being designated as lead agency of that in the application, and who we wish to serve as lead agency instead. So with that, I also circulated the documentation from the planning department, as well as a link to all of the documents that were submitted by Hutton Brickyard. Hutton Brickyard's in their application process. And so I would love an update from Kevin and Lorraine, who was working on it up till now. And let's discuss the proposal and what we would like to do in the determination of lead agency. So Kevin, you want to start?
Yeah, I think where we left off with last month, I think Lorraine and Sebastian were going to submit comments, but it got really complicated because the day after our meeting, the agenda was posted with all the documents at the planning board. And yeah, we had to act quickly. It looked like we had about a 5-day window to make comments before their meeting, which got very complicated very quickly. They included not just the special use permit renewal with a slight modification, but they included a master plan, which opens up a lot of questions. And I got in touch with Suzanne Cahill, and she said by email, and she said that she would take my email as a request from the CAC to extend the time. And she thought that the planning board would go along with that, which is what they did. So I did have a very rough draft of something, which was going to be better than nothing, but it wasn't, I don't think it was adequate, really. Didn't address all the issues, which I think I circulated sometime in mid-December at the time of the planning board meeting. I spoke to Kyla today about this, and she thinks there may be another extension, which I think what you just said kind of implies that if we have a 30-day period on lead agency, they're probably going to extend the public comment period as well for the interested agencies.
She did send a note to me today to say that they will be asking the planning board to extend the public hearing again.
Yeah, that would be a good thing given the complexity. Now, there's one issue with, I don't know if people actually had time to read the comments that I had drafted, but there was one issue that I referenced in there that was kind of oblique. It didn't, and it concerned the 41 parking spots on Lindsley Avenue, which the first thing I looked at when I looked at this thing, I saw the 31 units or whatever they're going to do down below. That looked all right. That's just a handful more glamping spaces. Just looks like they're modifying their special use permit. But then this caught my eye, and what caught my eye was 31 glamping units and 41 parking spots. And I said, something's wrong there. That's either a typo or it doesn't add up. And I counted the parking spots. I said, nope, it's 41 parking spots. What is going on here? So the next call went to my next door neighbor, Hunt Slonim, who's had the Courts Mansion on the market for quite a number of years. Well, he finally has a buyer, and it's in contract, and the buyer is Carl Slovin from the Brickyard. So that started to make sense, a lot more sense. However, converting Courts Mansion to a hotel or a hospitality use, which it once had been under previous owners, is not mentioned in the EAF or in any of the project description documents. So that leaves us with more of a puzzle. Kyla had heard this. She and Suzanne have discussed it. And they were also concerned about the 41 units at this time. And that's how we phrased it for both of us, I think, was at this time. Because if they do convert Courts Mansion to a hospitality use, they may need the 41 parking spots. So this is starting to look a lot like, well, I think they've already called it a type 1. The question is are they going to neg deck it, or is this going to have to go through a full environmental impact statement at this stage because of the way they've handled it? And I don't think the planning department has quite developed the staff comments yet for the planning board. They're working on this as we speak. So it's pretty complicated. There's a lot of other issues. If you looked at it, there's sea level rise. They want to put a hotel down below. They got all kinds of glamping throughout the wetlands, and which is kind of mind boggling. And they got glamping that looks like it's falling off a cliff. Just look at the contour lines. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the discussion I had with Kyla was what Kevin McManus, who's their consultant, should have done was just gone for the special use permit at this time. And when they're ready to do all this other stuff, come back. And then there'll be a more detailed environmental review. And did we mention they never did a traffic report for any of this?
So, but
Yeah.
what's confusing to me is that, so they presented this full master plan, right? But this secret process right now is not for the entire master plan. It's only for the portions of it that are being modified right now.
Right. That's pretty much it. But
Which includes the parking on Lindsley, and it includes the hospitality space with the spa and the pool,
right.
but not all the other jazz that they have in all the other phases.
No. And the question that came up, I mean, we were discussing where I think Kyla and I were both in agreement on this, is why did they come up? Why are they doing this on Lindsley Avenue at this stage and red flagging the whole thing? I mean, it seemed like, if I were Kevin McManus and I were, trying to get this project approved on a special use permit, I would not put commercial parking in a triple R residential one family zone. Which is what they've done. Yeah. So now they've opened up a zoning change possibility, which compounds all our other zoning issues. It's like, what were they thinking there? They're not making it easy.
Right.
So,
But also the fact that they've presented the entire master plan, but which is clearly laid out in phases, but that the current seeker review is not for the entire master plan. I don't know that it's within our scope to be commenting on anything besides what's currently under review. Right? So, I mean.
yeah, it opens up a question now because of the way they've submitted it.
So, I mean, we can't comment in theory then on anything in phases, 4 and beyond, 3, 5.
Yeah, no, they're probably going to change that. That's probably all. Glamping could go out of style like next week,
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a thing that's necessarily for the long haul.
So then, yeah.
That leaves us with the fire pits that we had comments on that, which is a concern. Yeah, that was a concern that I discussed with Kyla as well, and which they were well aware of that it presents an issue.
Yep.
She didn't tell me why they included the fire department as an involved agency, but I don't think there's a permit required for the fire pits, is there? I don't think-
They're not.
No, but they still have to respond to fires and it's
Yeah, they
pretty
have
far
to-
away.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, the health department's in there too, so,
Those DPW.
yeah,
yeah.
are we commenting on your comments, or are we just saying whether or not we want to have the planning board as the lead agent?
At this point, I think we're just saying lead agency, which is, yeah, I mean, that's sort of an easy, decision, I think.
Well, we're discussing both. Right now, we're discussing the comments, but ultimately, before this conversation ends, we need to decide whether we want planning board to be lead agency
All
also.
right.
Yeah, the area where they have the parking proposed, there's a Native American archaeological site near there. There's also, they're going to pave some of this, so there'll be stormwater runoff going down into the wetlands on this.
Referencing the parking on Lindsley or other parking?
Yeah, the parking on Lindsley. I would take that out if I were them. I mean, they're opening up stormwater runoff issues that are unnecessary at this stage or phase or whatever you want to call it of their project. They should come
Where,
up with that later.
where is the parking proposed? Is it right on the corner of Lindsay and Delaware?
No, because Quartz Mansion has that and my house is there. No, up the hill opposite Quartz Mansion entrance. They own property up there. You might think it's part of Quartz Mansion, but they
Yeah,
do.
but why would people want to, what would they do? Walk down to their glamping site?
No, they're
No.
going to be escorted down,
In a golf cart.
valeted.
They're gonna
No.
they're gonna pave there's a footpath right now that goes down to the brickyard from up there. And they're
Oh,
gonna
I see.
pave that and bring, take you down in a golf cart, and then they're gonna have somebody, a valet, take your gear down the other way, down Delaware Avenue. So
Oh, kind of like what you do at Omega.
yeah, something like this, yeah.
Okay.
Except that path is pretty steep in sections. I mean, yeah, I don't know. To me,
Well, they are glamping, so.
yeah, but it looked like going down it in a golf cart. There's some, I wouldn't want to be their insurance company. Let's put it that way. So, yeah, I don't know if we want to include that in the scope of comments or not, but there is archaeology there and there is stormwater runoff. Those are the two issues that are, that are presented with that, and traffic, which they've never done a traffic report.
Right, so I mean, it calls into question what we want to do at this point, because, I mean, we've identified a number of different issues.
Yeah.
But the question is if they all apply in this specific review. Because,
Yeah, I think the ones I just mentioned do, but yeah, the sea level rise, no more than it did last year, except that maybe we're incrementally higher in sea level rise.
right,
Well, so what is the, again, what's the timing for this? Because I haven't read anything. I didn't realize that we needed to read this information before this meeting.
the timing on the determination of lead agency is that we have 30 days to respond just to whether we want them to be lead agency. And that would go through February 11th
Right.
or 10th, whatever.
And then when are they looking, I mean, is this up in the January planning board? Is this going to be discussed? Are the actual plans going to be discussed in January? At the
Yes.
January planning meeting?
But I separately from Kyla, I received, yes, it will. That's the answer to that. But they're going to make a hard determination. No. They have to do a site visit. And as part of the Heritage Area Commission, I received a doodle poll from Suzanne to do that, I think sometime in the last week of January, barring, snow or blizzards or something that would prevent it. And I know that at least one of the planning board members wanted to do that site visit. I think if you go back on the video from last month's planning meeting, you can see that. They're sort of having difficulty conceptualizing all the moving parts on this thing, including the Lindsley Avenue parking. So,
Okay, and it's going before Heritage later this month, right?
yes. Initially, there was something on the website that Suzanne never contacted any of us about. And that was a joint meeting of Heritage and Planning to be held at, next week, which I still haven't heard anything about that. She just sent us out the Heritage notice for the, with the Zoom link for the last week of January. So I think that's when we're supposed to be meeting as the Heritage Commission. And then we would be reviewing the LWRP.
Right, okay. Okay, so two things we need to do is decide what our next action is and to decide whether or not we want the planning board to be lead agency. So let's vote on what I consider to be the simpler answer, which maybe is not the way I should be putting it, but does anyone have any concerns with the planning board being the lead agency?
No.
Or does anyone have any suggestions for who would be lead agency if it wasn't the planning board?
I don't have any issues.
Lorraine?
No.
Okay, so then can we have a motion to submit the request for determination as our response that we consent that the City of Kingston Planning Board be declared lead agency for the purpose of the environmental review of the Hutton Brickyard project?
I'll make that motion.
Kevin, can I have a second?
I second it.
Emily, any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
I,
Aye.
Okay, so we consent, fantastic, thank you. All right, so now to our next steps. I'm gonna submit this to Sue. I would say that we should take a look, if you haven't already, deeper at all of the documentation that I circulated and which is on the Google Drive from Kyla, which has all of the forms in it, with a mindset that the entire master plan is not part of this review, but that really it should be taken into context. And then we need to hone our comments, in my opinion, just my opinion, that we would hone our comments to be relevant to this stage of the review only. But I can entertain other people's ideas if you think we should be commenting on the master plan as a whole.
So are we supposed to be looking at the amended site plan? Yeah, I mean,
Go back into.
Yes,
if we're gonna look at this, you need to, it's like,
yes. The
Okay.
Hutton Brickyard's EAF amended site plan is the new,
Okay.
EAF. So
Okay.
in theory, that's really the most important document that we would want to review here, with the context of the master plan.
and that was put up here on January 5th.
Right.
Okay.
So how do we want to proceed? Somebody's got to take the lead on it, or some subcommittee of people needs to take the lead on it. Lorraine, I haven't heard from you here. What's your role here? Because you were working on it with Sebastian.
yeah. I haven't heard anything from Sebastian regarding his piece, but I'll say that I did look over the documents and the full environmental assessment form, part 1, project and setting. There are two items there that are concerning to me. One is on page 7, sub number I. It says air pollutant. There was a question about whether there are any air pollutants, and they have answered no.
Right. Okay.
No explanation. And then sub letter O, it asks about any potential odors, and they answered yes, but they only identified
Cooking.
possibly food odors. Yeah.
So, I mean, what needs to be done really is that we need to each review this very closely and draft up any concerns or comments we have with their environmental assessment form, and then consolidate that into one submission of comments from the CAC.
Yeah, I still started doing what Lorraine was doing already. I think I determined the zoning thing, the triple R zoning looked like an issue with hospitality uses. Sebastian had asked about public water and sewer, but they've checked yes. And as far as I can tell, that is yes.
It is yes, but whether there's the capacity,
Yeah, that's a separate issue. Yeah, okay, capacity would be an issue.
and that's where it gets down to right now, we're reviewing for the capacity of this phase
Yeah.
versus, which is much different than the capacity of a full build out.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I wasn't, yeah, I didn't red flag that at this stage. The zoning issue is an issue under C3. The air quality we have from Lorraine, I'd already picked up the odors, just like Lorraine did. Increase in traffic, they're going to divert traffic. Now, I don't know if that's going to increase it or what it's going to do, but they still haven't done a traffic study.
Well, of course it'll increase it, because currently the only person going up Lindsley Avenue is whoever lives in the courts or manages the courts mansion. So now every vehicle that goes up there is more traffic than current.
Yeah, well, we get a lot of people that are just lost. They think they can somehow get to East Kingston or the Roncliffe Bridge or something through the Delaware Forest, and they, yeah, that's happened more than you think. But yeah, traffic, yeah, that's an issue, and that's been brought up by the planning board before. I think I've heard a couple of the planning board members mention that on previous special use permits. Stormwater and the archaeology. I think that covers us.
Are there?
You might find something else.
What about wetlands? You said wetlands.
Well, the stormwater would go into the wetlands. Yeah, right. If they
Well, I
pay-
don't know. You said that some of the glamping sites, I don't know.
Oh, currently, no, that's on the master plan. Let's
Oh, okay, sorry.
shelve that for the moment.
What, so what's our deadline for working with the self-appointed Kevin McAvoy?
Ugh.
Well, I mean, as you said, inherent to the process, we have 30 days just to help to declare lead agency. So
Right,
we can.
but then he said they were good, I don't know. Do we need to have anything? Let me ask this differently. For the meeting in January, do we need to submit anything?
This was the same decision we had to make in December, and the answer Kyla gave me was the answer that Sue gave me last month, that the planning board, they can't speak for the planning board, right? Because they're staff. But they're saying they're making staff recommendations to the planning board to continue the project, continue the public hearing is open,
Okay,
to allow the interested agencies such as CAC, Climate Smart. Now, Climate Smart's not even be able to do this. They're going to meet after the planning board. If planning board would have closed comment, Climate Smart would be sort of out, out of luck.
Yeah, that's why they're gonna have to extend it.
Yeah, and there's other agencies there. I don't know how fast Steve Knox can turn this around, or DPW or any of them.
Right.
SHPO is involved, probably because of the archaeology and the proximity and fact that the site itself is eligible for the National Historic Register, the brickyard itself. So they're involved. They're interested, I should say. They don't have, I don't think you need a permit from them.
Mhm.
okay,
So then to
Well-
the timeline question, I mean,
yeah, what's the time?
Yeah, yeah, that is the question. I would guess sooner rather than later, since we've already identified more or less what's on the EAF of that would be within scope.
Do we have to deputize? I mean, how are we gonna do this if we're trying to get it in by January? What's the meeting date?
what's the meeting date?
Not next is it next Monday or Tuesday?
Well, Monday's a holiday.
Right, so it's got to be Tuesday. It's got to be the 19th.
Okay. So I would say then that we need to have something in to them by Friday.
No, that might be doable. Since we've, cut the scope out of the master plan, which I was really getting lost with at the last meeting, that could be doable. But what Kyla was telling me was like, don't worry, it's gonna be okay, there's time. But what if the planning board takes a hard position and overrules staff? What do we do then?
I think that
There's
we're,
always
fine.
that-
I
there's
think that,
always that fear, but I don't know that they will.
well, but I don't know that we should bank on hoping for the best. I think we've got enough information. We should move forward with it if we can do it.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Then
Also,
what are we doing? Are we gonna just have everyone look at by Friday?
Yeah, I mean, do we have time for that? Because I mean, we have the CAP 2.0 coming up, and we got, I don't know, there's some, don't we have Alex Wolf on coming up too with the flood resiliency? There's things happening on Thursday.
yep,
I don't know. Do people have time to look at it? It's not going to be long. This isn't going to be like, the whole Megillah. It's going to be like a couple of paragraphs, really.
well, we would need to get you any further comments by a certain time. You would need to draft something up and we would need to review that. And then get you back any comments, and then you need to finalize those comments, get
Right,
it back to me, and then I need to submit it to Sue.
by Friday. Is that doable?
I mean, we could get it to her by Tuesday morning. I don't love that.
No, I don't either. Well, they didn't close the written comments on Friday though, did they? Like they did last month. They accelerated the closing date.
What do you mean?
You had to get the written comments in by Friday at 2 p.m., I believe, in December. And that's when I had frantically slapped this thing together that I'd sent out, and then got in contact with Suzanne, and she just said, I'm going to take this as go no further, and I'm going to take this as a request to extend time.
Well, I mean, also, we have to realize that all these other, I mean, there's a list, the list of involved and interested agencies is substantially long. It can't possibly be expected that this whole list of people is going to have received this communication and information yesterday and get comments in before Tuesday.
Yeah, that's maybe we should ask for another extension of time. In the meantime, I can pretty much put together 1, 2, 3, 4, we get about 7 areas of concern, with a couple of lines each. It isn't going to be huge because I'm not doing research on this as to what the stormwater runoff, where, what may happen with it. It's going to be a couple of sentences. That's it.
Okay.
I don't have a traffic study to reference, so all we're going to say is there's no traffic study.
Is one of those concerns the slopes? Because there's 30% of this site is over 15%.
Yeah, and a good portion of that is behind Courts Mansion, where this golf course path that they want to pave is going to be.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
There's a footpath there presently that came from the Brickyard, and they want to pave that.
Okay, so do we want to submit some preliminarily what you have then?
Yeah, I can do that, put it together, and if people feel comfortable with it, we can submit it. If you feel it's inadequate, then we will ask for an extension, or
Okay.
we can ask for an extension with the preliminary comments.
Okay, let's do
And
that.
then see what Kevin McManus comes back with later, because this, yeah, yeah, as I've said earlier, he's made it complicated for himself.
Okay, I mean, I like that idea. So,
Yeah. Okay, so what we'll do is I'll take my notes here, we'll change that and create some text out of that and ask for an extension all at once.
okay, so when do you think you'll have something for us to take a look at?
I'm gonna have to work on this tomorrow.
Great.
I mean, we don't have time. I mean, Thursday is gonna be, you know, all Zoom stuff, and Friday it's gonna, you know, no, we'll have to do it tomorrow.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you, Kevin. Is there any other things related to Hunbreaker that folks want to discuss now?
No, thanks, Kevin.
Excellent. All right. The other new business that we added to the agenda earlier tonight was the Sophus Creek environmental review.
Oh, okay, that's under new business.
Yes.
Yeah, the DEC sent out the there's an EIS pending with a close of comment in March on the Ashokan protocols. And the question before us is, do we want to consider making comments on it? We don't have to go into it today. It's like really technical. I mean, I was a bit like, I didn't make comments on it the last time just because it was so technical. I mean, you know, there's a lot of engineering specs involved in all of this. But, you know, we may want to, you know, make some comment on it before the close of comment in March, which we could review before the next meeting and then.
Maybe you should backtrack and explain what you're talking about.
Oh, the Ashokan protocols, you know, the New York City versus the New York City DEP versus the New York State DEC.
Are you saying about the releases of water from the Ashokan Reservoir
Yeah. That's I think
that
that's
impacts the Esopus Creek,
Yeah.
which is our border?
yes.
Okay, yep. I guess the question is, do we feel like the other agencies that are going to respond are going to do a fine job and we don't have to?
That's what I did last time, but I got an email from Mary McNamara asking me to look at it, and she did the same thing. She asked Greg Shaheen and Julia Farr to look at it, and I think they're in over their head on the engineering on this.
But wouldn't we also be in over our heads?
Could be. You know what? Another person I would want to speak to on this would be Emily Vale.
Yeah, I know the county is weighing in on it for sure.
Yeah. Who else is weighing in?
I've talked to Amanda Laval about it.
Amanda, the county. Okay, so if Amanda's going to weigh in and Emily Vale is, then maybe we don't have to. But I think we should check into what they're doing
I agree.
and see if we can send a support document, and you know, if needed on their end.
Okay, so can we put this on the February agenda and have people
Yeah,
look at it before that?
it's going to be too complicated to discuss now. I mean, I downloaded this and it was a lot of stuff.
Can you circulate that to everyone?
Yeah, I can send the links. Yes, on this. Yeah.
Okay. And we'll have time at the February meeting? No, we would have to have comments together at the February meeting, or we could discuss it at the February meeting.
Trying to remember when the close a comment, what day in March it is. I do have all this here, but it's in a different part of the computer. Oh. I thought it was around March 10th or 12th. Let me check the calendar to see when our March meeting is. Our March meeting is on the 9th. We may have time in March to review this, but we'd have to immediately turn it around.
But we could review it in February.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Review it in February, and then get a clearer picture on the close of comment, which is escaping where I put that on the computer at the moment.
Okay.
Well, by the way, there's a public hearing on February 4th and the public comments are accepted till March 16th.
March 16th. Okay, I thought it was the 12th or the 11th or something. Okay, the 16th. Then, yeah, we could conceivably wait till March.
Okay, so let's put it on, I'll put it on the February agenda. You circulate it and we'll review
Yep,
it. accordingly.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. Okay.
Excellent. Anything else on that? Okay, there were no communications besides what we already discussed with Lorraine. Announcements and events. I do want to remind everyone of the Climate Action Plan 2030 update meeting, which is the kickoff meeting, which is this Thursday, the 14th at 5:30. You should have gotten in your emails the information for the link. You don't have to pre-register. I really highly encourage everyone to attend. Are there any other announcements or events? Okay. Reports and updates. Anything from Complete Streets, Lorraine?
There hasn't been a recent meeting, but I did attend what may be the final meeting of the Flatbush Foxhall Citizens Group. I'm not sure. I believe they're just aggregating the information and then they'll make a report. So I don't have anything to report on it yet, but I did participate in the last one.
Okay.
That's it.
Kevin, anything else from planning board that we didn't already discuss?
The only thing I noticed this month was on Lucas Avenue, there was a project where they wanted to put, I thought it was 47 units.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that's something we need to weigh in on or not. It looked like the issue there would be traffic. I'd have to go back to see if Main Street Brook goes through there at all. It didn't look like it, but Main Street Brook sometimes doesn't look like it, and then it's there. You know, I don't have the answer to that off the top of my head. I think I got sidetracked when I was looking at that earlier.
Yeah, I actually think we should take a look at that. I mean, this is a pretty substantial
Okay.
proposal. So, and that's off of Bluestone Court, right?
Yes, yeah, next to Bluestone Court. And there's two private houses on Lucas.
Yeah.
And 16 feet of frontage on Lucas, which is kind of a narrow driveway for 47 units. I think the backstory was that this was proposed before COVID and then they tabled it. That's my recollection. I found an old Freeman article on it from
So
about.
the driveway is going between those two houses, huh?
That's, yeah. There was a site plan that was put on in the Freeman. I didn't get it from the planning board.
Uh-huh.
I'll have to go back and see if they've put all the information on that on the planning board website, but it looked very narrow for that many units and coming in and out of Lucas.
So what would be our timeline on that? I don't think we could wait till the February meeting, or could we?
I gotta go back to the planning board minutes agenda here and see where they. I think this was under old business, but don't want to say that off the top of my head. They have it under new business. They have it under new business. Secret determination. Yeah. Doesn't look like a public hearing. No.
Okay,
So I think there's time on that.
okay. I'd like to put that on the February agenda. So can you circulate whatever documentation you have on that one?
Yeah, right now, all I have is the agenda for the meeting and it doesn't have the usual links. I think something happened at the city website when they carried over from 2020 to 2021. It looked like some of the formatting was different for the boards and commissions.
Yeah, so up until the end of the year, we were using Granicus, and Granicus was the platform that we used for all the meeting agendas and posting, and now we are not using Granicus anymore. So there is a transition that's happening. Hopefully information isn't being lost, but it just might look different. I would reach out to Kyla for that, I guess, then.
Yeah, yeah, last year when we were using Granicus, they had all the links. When they would finally put the agenda up, you could just click on that. And that was used for all the other boards I was on as well, I am on as well. Like they didn't send us a board package. They stopped doing it and just said, here, just click on the link with the agenda, and everything was downloadable, but no longer seems to be the case.
Okay,
Okay, so we'll inquire over there.
okay. Anything else on planning board?
No, it doesn't look like any of those other issues that we discussed last month are on the agenda.
Okay. Anything from zoning?
Zoning, yeah. Tanya, are you still on here? We had a land trust meeting last night that Tanya, committee meeting that Tanya appeared at, and she did a presentation on form-based code and provided us with a lot of information on that. And Andrea Shout has also been in touch with Tanya and with several of us who've been involved with the zoning thing. And I think we're looking at having I want to phrase it correctly. Tanya, maybe if you're not muted, maybe you want to say something if you're there. If not, bear with me and I'll have to find it.
I was just chatting with my mother and I was not listening to the meeting, but I heard my name.
Yeah, we were talking about the next step on the zoning and Andrea.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I think we were talking about really needing the public to be engaged and understand where we are. The point that the Common Council, in terms of how caught up they are, which is not very caught up, but that we really need to start some public participation. And so there's a website, it's a group, an advocacy group called Strong Towns.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for, the link.
Strong Towns, yeah. So they're going to come and do a talk, not physically though, virtually. It'll be on the total an hour, and that'll include a question and answer specific to Kingston. But it'll be basically because we're talking about finally doing our zoning code, doing a citywide zoning code overhaul. Really, it'll be mainly focused on why that's important, and what are sort of mid-century goals, zoning code, what kind of damage it does to towns in general. And the question and answer section will be more about Kingston specifically, but I think it'll be a really great introduction to people to the urgency of doing some actual zoning with actual experts. But yeah, if you're looking up the Strong Towns link.
Yeah, I'll link that to the minutes and I'll send it. I'll distribute it as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. Climate Smart update, that is not here. So Kevin, do you want to give an update or?
Yeah, just bear with me. I'm toggling all over the place here. Okay, Climate Smart. Yes, here we go. This was the December 23rd meeting. So we didn't do well, I think we discussed the Climate Action Plan 2.0. I think Julie discussed that. And that it was rescheduled from December to January 14th, which is this week. at 5:30. And Julie ran us through several city sustainability projects, including the LED lights, which were close to completion at that point, as was the organics plan, and that we have a new environmental specialist, Tom Krevich, who should have started yesterday, right?
I will give an update on that. Tom has taken a new job with the DEC.
Oh, okay. So, all right.
So we are reevaluating that appointment.
Okay. And the city sustainability, I believe Julie also discussed the construction phase is now on hold on the city parks due to winter, and the city sustainability report will be forthcoming sometime at the end of January. John mentioned community repair as a climate smart communities initiative. And yeah, that was yeah, I don't know what to say about John. Melissa has the pizza box initiative with and she has 30,000 stickers, 3.5 by 3.5 to go on pizza boxes. So that's going to be an interesting outreach thing. And, you know, that has to do with the fact that pizza boxes are not recyclable and people like to put them in their cardboard recyclable containers. There wasn't much on the Green Business Challenge. The zoning we already covered here. And let's see, Jessica gave us a brief update on the energy stretch code, but she's still following up on that. We had a presentation at a previous meeting on the New York energy stretch code. And I think that more or less covers us for climate smart.
Okay, thank you. Emily, any updates from the EMC?
Sorry. So we met the day after the CAC met, and we had a guest, as we said before, a guest from the prisms, the Lower Hudson Prism. And that was interesting. So, and other than that, I already reported on the about the interest in the or I reported out on the difference between boards and councils. For CAC, we're still tracking the Dan Scammer Energy Center. One of the things I thought was interesting is that the county jail needs a new gas-fired boilers, and they couldn't come up with a way to not use fossil fuels. But as you all know, the jail's really new, and so it's really unfortunate that the boilers are already bad. And we discussed the fact that the Governor Cuomo vetoed the bill on the Class C streams. Did we talk about that in our meeting last week?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's a good point because we wrote that letter. Okay. And the county completed their culvert assessment for the, it was mostly towns in the lower Esopus watershed. They've completed their culvert assessment. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Tree Commission meeting was today. I was not able to make it. So I'm not sure what the latest update is from that, but I can get information for next month and get it to everyone. And any other reports or updates? I do want to something I forgot to add to the agenda, which we usually do the first month of the year, is to reaffirm the meeting dates for the year. Is everyone still okay with meeting the second Tuesday of the month at 6 p.m.?
I am.
Yes,
Yep.
me too.
Okay, February will be February 9th. Okay, if there isn't any other business, there was a request from Emily to adjourn the meeting in memory of John Wackman. And just before we adjourn, I just want to say, John Wackman, if you weren't able to have the pleasure to work with him or meet him, was a fantastic member of our community, and a member of the Conservation or the Climate Smart Kingston Commission for a long time. And he this year was extremely successful, and thus far has been really extremely successful in pulling together and being instrumental in the Repair Cafe movement. He also co-authored a book, Repair Revolution, which just came out in the end of 2020. John passed away suddenly last week, and I don't actually have a lot of information about his passing or about any memorial, but and I know this motion was made by Emily, but I do just want to say on behalf of the city and the Conservation Advisory Council that John will be very sorely missed. Does anyone else want to say any words about John?
Well, so John also, besides being on the Climate Smart Committee, he did all the repair cafes, and that's what he was really been known for recently. He's also on the board of the Sustainable Hudson Valley, so and so he'll be really missed there. He was very involved with like Solarize at the very beginning with that, and he's also been helping out with the zero waste plan for the county. And I guess he envisions that it would be really great for Ulster County to have a resource recovery park, which is kind of like a a place where kind of all things can get reused or have a better purpose. So maybe we can think about that in terms of one of his visions besides all the other great work that he did. And he will be sorely missed. Apparently, there's going to be some kind of private ceremony, but there will be an obituary. And he passed away on, I believe, on Saturday. So I think everyone in the Hudson Valley is quite shaken by this, and he was really important for the city of Kingston and the Valley.
So we close this meeting in his memory. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
My motion.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It is 7:36.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your week and your month, and we will see you in February.
Yeah, well,
Thank
we'll
you.
probably see you Thursday, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.